This is Nyvassdalshytta, a cabin only surrounded by stunning nature in a reservoir where one lake is hunting the next one. Okay, there are a few windmills that might jab at the romantic picture, but I guess somewhere our energy needs to come from. With the high snow in January, it took me about 3 hours to cross the mountainside to get to the cabin, while the wind had a great time beating at me. After all, it wasn't so surprising that this would be a great area for windmills. The goal of this journey was to use the remote cabin for a few days without any internet and cell phone reception, or even really any screen time, to keep my mind away from the business of working with social media, and honestly to have a few days of fishing, hiking, and the discomfort that a more backwards life brings with it. If you know me by now, then you're aware that I'm often preaching about the benefits of a simpler life, more in tune with nature. And every time I speak about it, I truly mean what I'm saying. But let's zoom out a little and have a look at the parking spot I was aiming for. A small pond in front of the mountain chain called Sandjuna. Technically, from there it would be 4 kilometers of hiking. But we never reached that spot. Instead, Yuki and I got stuck right here behind the bridge in a snowdrift with the car. Our only way out was using the tiny camping shovel that I brought with me for emergencies. At this point I had already been shoveling for 45 minutes or so, and the original plan of starting the hike at 9 AM wasn't really working out.
Now second gear, full speed.
In the end, we made it out of this situation. With a decent training session and 2 hours of delay, I can say one thing for sure, and that is that it isn't a smart idea to drive over a frozen snowdrift with powder snow beneath. When you're on these adventures, you better expect that things are going wrong, because they will. I can promise you that one. And if you're mentally not ready for it, it is much more painful than it actually needs to be.
If I wouldn't have had the shovel with me, this could have been a very long day. So will be definitely one of my core utensils from now on in winter drives.
Instead of the 4 kilometers over the mountains, we now added a bit over 2 kilometers uphill to the journey and started our way from Blåvannet to Sandtjärn. I wasn't really bothered by the setback. Where we live, we don't have such beautiful mountains, I have to admit, so it was quite a pleasure to get to know the area.
It's good that we finally start walking. We have to pass the first little mountain there and then 3 behind it of the bigger ones until we actually get to the parking spot where I initially planned to park. Now we are at about the place where I thought this hike would start. Here the tractor road begins and then we're crossing into some hiking paths, and from there it would be 4 kilometers and crossing one river to the cabin at the lake. It is also getting rather windy now, which I didn't see in the forecast. So I think yesterday was still supposed to be a bit sunny. Yeah. Another fun fact is that I normally do these deep snow hikes without a backpack. Now with the added 30, maybe 40 kilos with 3 days of food, I'm weighing 140 kilos and the steps are going rather deep into the snow. So maybe 2 kilometers an hour is a realistic pace for me right now. Meaning that we can still make it before it's getting fully dark. We are now at the last crossing before we can go finally down to the lake. This was quite a bit of a torture up in meter 20 high snow with that backpack. No, it wasn't the smartest idea, but now we're here. Next time I'll try to figure out to buy a backpack for the dog as well. You see, this one there, I could go farther to more lakes, and this one is the one we are taking. One more left, one more right, and then crossing a lake. Then there's a cabin. 3 o'clock, I think. Soon getting dark.
done with the hike for the day, it was an amazing feeling. You get this tingling all over your body of the exhaustion, and Yuki and I, we were both just ready to get into a cabin, start a fire, and relax. My main goal for the rest of the first day was to get up my feet in front of the fire while munching on some oatmeal, and then pass out in the bed before 9 o'clock. And that's exactly what happened. Right now my lower back is rather stiff, my traps are sore, and I generally had a hard time getting out of that bed earlier. But as soon as you get moving and get going, it's normally fine. I'm just saying, to get to these places where I like to film, sometimes it requires a little bit of effort, and this one required a bit more than others. Otherwise, you have seen the cabin. I found it on LUT.no, which is a hiking app, a hiking route app that also has some cabins listed, and the cabin is free for everybody. So if you would come here, you would also be very welcome. And all you need to do is write the owner a message and ask if it's free, and that's pretty much it. We also have literally zero phone connection here. So I actually turned my phone off because I will need it for the maps back on the way back. And it's nice to preserve some battery, as the solar system of this cabin right now is not providing 12 volt. It's a bit dark. The lights just flicker on and off if I try to turn it on. It's probably the first time this year that I have been in a place without any mobile internet connection, without any computer, any phone usage. And it feels rather odd in the beginning. It's not that I'm missing scrolling through YouTube or get super itchy to check my stats or write an email or anything, but it feels nice normally to be able to contact Thea in the end of the day wherever I am to see if everything is fine, and here you're just in this tiny bubble where nothing goes in and nothing goes out. I guess now, after writing a bit in the cabin book, I will go outside, chop the remaining logs there so that the next people have some firewood, and make some tinder as they're not as dry enough so that you can light them easily. And then we'll set up some fishing rods, hope for some dinner, and maybe go outside, make a fire, and fry some sausages and eggs.
It is very shallow here, and we're already about 10 to 15 meters away from the house, so I thought this would be at least 4 or 5 meters deep, but maybe it's around 2.5. Might be a bit too shallow, so the holes that are drilled farther in most likely don't work.
I feel like chopping wood is one of the last remaining physicalities, at least in my life, that actually contributes to our direct needs like shelter, in this case warmth, food and water. So whenever I have the chance to chop some wood, I think it's quite amazing to see that your body can contribute to your basic needs. And it doesn't always have to be money or your mind doing the work.
Half of this guy we're going to use for tinder, so I'll just make a clean cut in the middle that I don't have to work around that branch, and then this one here should be enough to start at least 3, 4, 5 fires, more than I need in my stay here, so it's nice for the next people to have dry inside. The wood is relatively dry, so it doesn't have to be too small. Just have enough surface to catch fire easily. We have to wash some dishes in order to have something to eat for dinner. And for that I have a bowl of lake water, or half a bowl of lake water, and boil some more in this pot right here, which should be done now. It's a bit more of a chore when you are having a cabin without running water and without heated water.
The past night has mainly been used for star photography. As I went out to get some water, I noticed a clear sky, and I thought I should use that chance of being far away from civilization and therefore light pollution to try to capture the one or other night scene. It's always a bit of an inner conflict with that sort of photography, as you could also just stay inside in your cozy bed, but in the end I'm always happy to have this amazing footage, and it's worth it every time.
We had a little more snow overnight, maybe 10 more centimeters.
You saw it on the time-lapse. I very much hope it doesn't make the walk back even harder tomorrow. But for now we have minus 0.3, so the snow is just staying nice and tight. Maybe it can freeze over a little bit over the night and then we should be fine. Now it's time to check the fishing rods. Maybe we need to put on some new bait or just find different positions to set up the rods. I also saw that one of the rods here has a little green rubber fish that I could jig with, so maybe that makes a bit more sense than the bait.
Bait also still on. Huh. I at least want to have tried it. And there was something that was laying at the cabin, so it has been used here before. We'll just give it some jigs. Should you have that? It's not cool. Should you have that? Yuki, should you have that?
Even though the fishing itself was anything else than successful, the patience that you need to bring up to get out some bait, do the holes and think about your next step is still in itself quite rewarding. It may not seem special to you, but the fact that Yuki was off leash for the majority of our stay at the cabin was something very new to me. Normally, he has so much hunting drive and curiosity that he would just run off as soon as he sees a deer. But when we're traveling to places, the dynamics are different, and as there was not so much wildlife around, this was a unique position for him to also feel the freedom. Seeing him like that in his natural environment translated somehow into me feeling an extra bit more free as well. Over there were the first fishing holes, and what I've done now is making one over there where this guy is sniffing around and one farther that direction, maybe 5-6 meters. There the water was much deeper and I put on as much bait as I could, so I'll leave these two to it and then just cross my fingers. the calm that was coming over me sitting there at the fire eating a few plain sausages was something that I normally don't experience in my day-to-day life. And that's what these trips to cabins and to more natural life do to us. In my opinion, everybody should experience that rather frequent than not. Just to have a comparison of what life outside the societies that we're in right now actually feels like. Free. It actually feels free. I wish there would be many more days like this. A little later that day, it was actually possible for me to crawl out of bed, away from my reading, and then just write down a few thoughts, a bit more concrete than I would normally do in my day-to-day journaling. And it turned out that I could actually straighten out a lot of things in this place. The last morning now. I'm slowly packing up, so we're having everything inside cleaned up. The dishes should be good soon. Then I maybe have an ice bath and we'll get going.
Good boy! Yay! Oj, Snacko! Snacko! Ja, such a good boy. Such a good boy. You need to stay around, yeah?
So I'll have the ice bath, then get warm in the cabin, put on some dry and fresh clothes. I think I have one more layer fresh. And we start with the way back over the mountains, hopefully with a little less wind than now. Now it actually started snowing. The thing that I wanted the least for today. Yeah, whatever. I think the way back is going to be a challenge anyway, so a bit more snow. Who cares? been drawn to discomfort pretty much all my life. Not necessarily the discomfort on a day-to-day basis, but more challenges that explore the boundaries of what you think you're capable of. And in my case, it has never been anything heroic. It has rather been quirky things like taking a bike ride of 150 km on a very shitty bike, or shoveling snow from the cabin to the island. The reason why I'm so drawn to this is that I noticed that these experiences always leave the deepest and most vivid memories. And even though everything might have felt terrible while doing it, they normally turn into a rather positive memory. The walk to Nyvassdalshytta was one thing that I, for the first time in years, thought about quitting. It was so uncomfortable getting through the high snow and being stuck every 20 centimeters. But it was the first part of a very memorable journey if you continue. And this ice bath was supposed to put the cherry on top, to make this trip a memory that stays with me to the end. That was rather tough, I would say. The way back turned out to be as uncomfortable as expected. But we had our fun. It was a bit of a mystical experience. And I hope you could get something out of this video. I put a link to this cabin into the description. And just keep in mind, creating outstanding memories and having amazing adventures doesn't need to cost anything, except discomfort and effort.